Inuit don't just survive, they thrive. Their story, along with those of other remarkable peoples across the globe, pulls us into a reality where humans defy the impossible. From frozen tundras to scorching plains, from dense jungles to remote islands, these cultures reveal secrets of resilience that leave scientists stunned and spark a question in all of us. What are we truly capable of? Let's start with the Inuit, a people who call the Arctic home, a place where temperatures can plummet to -50 degrees Celsius, where exposed skin freezes in seconds. Imagine stepping outside, your eyelashes icing over, your fingers numbing in minutes. For the Inuit, this is just another day. They hunt seals and whales with tools honed over centuries, navigating vast featureless snowscapes without GPS or even a compass. How did they do it? It's not just skill, it's evolution. Their bodies are built differently, shorter limbs, stockier frames. These aren't random traits, they're nature's designed to trap heat like a perfectly engineered thermos. Their metabolism runs like a furnace, burning hotter than most to keep them warm in conditions that would leave the rest of us shivering in defeat. But it's not just their bodies that defy logic. Their diet would make a nutritionist faint. Picture this: no kale smoothies, no avocado toast, just raw seal, whale blubber, and fish, day after day. No fruits, no vegetables, barely a trace of carbs. By modern standards, their cholesterol should be through the roof, their arteries clogged, their hearts struggling. Yet the Inuit have some of the healthiest cardiovascular systems on Earth. Scientists scratched their heads until they found the answer. A genetic quirk, a mutation in genes like Captain 1A, lets their bodies process fats like a superpower. It's as if evolution handed them a cheat code for surviving a world where food is scarce and fat is life. Now let's talk about their minds. You've probably heard the old tale that the Inuit have 50 words for snow. It's more than a fun fact, it's a clue to how their language shapes their reality. Unlike us, they don't say turn left or go right. They use north, south, east, west, absolute directions tied to the earth itself. Blindfold an Inuit elder, spin them around, and they'll still point north without hesitation. Studies suggest their language rewires their brains, giving them a sixth sense for navigation. It's not magic, it's a profound connection to their world, one that challenges everything we think we know about human perception. Let's shift gears and travel across the globe to the steamy jungles of northeast India, where the Naga tribes carve out a life as fierce as it is fascinating. These aren't just hunters, they're legends. Stories tell of warriors who faced tigers bare-handed, their courage etched into the dense forests they call home. The Naga weren't just fighters, though, they were artists, shaping intricate pottery and forging metal with a skill that rivals modern craftsmen. Their society balanced strength with structure. Men led, but women held clear rights, managing households and passing down wisdom. One custom stands out: when the eldest son married, the family home became his, and his parents built a new one. It's practical, yet it speaks to a culture that values continuity in a world of constant challenge. But there's a darker chapter in their story, one that sends chills down the spine. Until the late 20th century, the Naga were headhunters. This wasn't just violence, it was a rite of passage. Taking an enemy's head brought status, respect, power. Warriors displayed their trophies, their bodies tattooed with each conquest. The more heads, the greater the honor. Though headhunting is gone, outlawed decades ago, its legacy lingers in the jungles, a reminder of a culture that thrived on strength and survival in a world that offered no mercy. Now let's journey to the highlands of Papua New Guinea, where the Yoli tribe lives in rugged isolation. Their world is one of steep mountains and ancient secrets, untouched by the hum of modern life. The Yoli rely on knowledge passed down through generations: how to farm in rocky soil, how to hunt in dense forests, how to survive where outsiders would falter. Their isolation kept them hidden until a daring British explorer made contact, peeling back the curtain on a culture that feels like a time capsule. What makes the Yoli so captivating isn't just their resilience, it's their secrecy. Even today, much of their way of life remains a mystery, a puzzle for anthropologists to piece together. Across the ocean, on the islands of Panama and Colombia, the Kuna, also called the Gunner, paint their world with color and defiance. Their textiles, called molars, are explosions of pattern and hue, each stitch a story of their heritage. But don't let their artistry fool you. The Kuna are fierce. They fought off outsiders for generations, guarding their autonomy with a resolve as unyielding as the Arctic ice. Their spiritual life is just as intense. Animal sacrifices aren't relics of the past, they're living rituals, tying the kuna to the unseen forces they believe guide their world. To them, these aren't empty gestures, they're the heartbeat of their existence. Now let's venture to the frozen wilds of Northeast Asia, where the Chuki people endure conditions as brutal as the Inuit. In the Chukotka region of Russia, where winds whip through reindeer-skin tents called orongas, the Chuki have thrived for thousands of years. They split into two worlds: inland herders guiding reindeer across the tundra and coastal hunters chasing seals and whales. Their tools have evolved. Spears gave way to firearms, but their traditions hold fast. Inside a uranga, a central fire burns warm enough for light clothing, even as the Arctic howls outside. The Soviet era brought schools and hospitals, but the Chuki's core remains unchanged, a testament to their ability to adapt without losing themselves. Contrast this with the Surma people of Ethiopia and South Sudan, where the sun scorches the plains and survival demands a different kind of strength. The Surma, divided into Sui, Mercy, and Mien tribes, live for their cattle and crops, clashing with governments that try to pull them into the modern world. They don't just resist, they fight, sometimes violently, to protect their way of life. Their body art tells their story: scars, floral patterns, and lip plates that stretch beauty to its limits. For Surma women, a lip plate isn't just decoration, it's status, beauty, power. The larger the plate, the higher the dowry, and cattle, a currency that defines their world. It's a tradition that shocks outsiders but binds the Surma to their roots. Then there's the story of the cargo cults, a surreal chapter from the Pacific Islands during and after World War II that reveals the power of belief and the lengths to which human imagination can stretch to make sense of the unknown. When Allied forces arrived on remote islands like Vanuatu and Tanna, bringing planes, radios, canned food, and other technological wonders, the islanders saw what looked like gods descending from the skies. The goods, cargo, were interpreted not as human inventions but as divine gifts. Indigenous islanders, having never witnessed such machinery or wealth before, believed the visitors were fulfilling ancient prophecies. When the war ended and the soldiers left, the islanders began mimicking their behavior in the hopes of summoning more cargo. They built wooden airstrips, fashioned radios from coconuts, and marched in formation with makeshift rifles, all acts of devotion meant to bring back the material abundance they had briefly seen. This phenomenon is not just an anthropological curiosity, it's a mirror held up to our own civilization. It asks us what we would do if our world was suddenly upended by incomprehensible power. The cargo cults are living symbols of humanity's tendency to mythologize the unknown, to turn confusion into faith, and scarcity into ceremony. To this day, some islanders in Vanuatu still worship a figure known as John From, believed to be an American soldier who promised to return with endless supplies. Once a year, they celebrate John From Day, donning red, white, and blue and raising American flags, rituals that blur the lines between religion, hope, and memory. Now shift to another mysterious people, the Sentinelese of North Sentinel Island in the Andaman Sea. They are among the last truly uncontacted tribes on Earth. Fiercely protective of their isolation, the Sentinelese have repelled every attempt at contact, often violently. In 2018, a missionary attempting to approach the island was killed by arrows before he could step ashore. Even Indian authorities, who administer the surrounding region, have declared the island off-limits, recognizing the Sentinelese right to remain undisturbed. We know very little about their language, culture, or customs, because even aerial photographs are sparse. Yet what we do know is awe-inspiring. They have survived for over 60,000 years on a speck of land less than 60 square kilometers in size, without agriculture, without trade, and without assimilation into the modern world. The very existence of the Sentinelese challenges our definitions of civilization. In an era of global connectivity, their fierce independence is a silent rebellion against homogenization. Their arrows are not weapons of hate but of sovereignty. They embody the right to remain untouched, to reject the digital tide, and to define one's identity on one's own terms. Crossing again into the frigid reaches of the globe, let us consider the Sami people of northern Scandinavia. Indigenous to parts of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and the Kola Peninsula of Russia, the Sami have endured centuries of forced assimilation and cultural erasure. Yet their identity remains resilient, tied to the snow-covered lands and the herds of reindeer they shepherd across them. Their joik, a traditional form of song, is one of Europe's oldest musical traditions. Each joik is not just a melody but a tribute to a person, place, or spirit. When a Sami sings a joik, they are not singing about something, they are momentarily becoming it. Despite historic bans on their language and efforts to replace their spiritual practices with Christianity, the Sami are reclaiming their heritage. Today, they fight for land rights, language preservation, and climate justice, as the warming Arctic threatens their ancestral way of life. The reindeer migration, once dictated by snow and instinct, now contends with melting ice and disrupted seasons. Still, the Sami persist, their resilience echoing in each song sung to the wind. Finally, we turn to the Melanesians of the Solomon Islands and Vanuatu, not only for their rich traditions but for a scientific mystery that has intrigued researchers for decades. Among them are individuals with strikingly dark skin and naturally blonde hair. This rare combination puzzled scientists until a genetic study revealed a mutation unique to Melanesians, not inherited from European ancestry, as once assumed, but from their own ancient lineage. It's a vivid reminder that diversity thrives even in places far from the genetic crossroads of continents. These islands, isolated for millennia, have cultivated a spectrum of human traits and cultures that challenge conventional ideas of race and origin. Melanesians also carry some of the highest percentages of Denisovan DNA, a now extinct subspecies of archaic humans. That ancient inheritance may play a role in their immune systems, physical traits, and even resistance to certain diseases. In every strand of their DNA lies a story of survival, of prehistoric migrations, volcanic cataclysms, and cultural adaptation on lands that erupt and shift as fiercely as the people who call them home. What ties all these peoples together, from the Inuit and the Yoli to the Chukchi, the Kuna, and the Sentinelese, is not just endurance, but the wisdom to adapt without surrendering. Their environments are not easy. Their ways are not modern. Yet they remain whole. Their existence forces us to ask hard questions. What have we lost in exchange for convenience? Can a society be wealthy in spirit, even if poor in material things? Can tradition be more advanced, in some ways, than technology? As we hurtle into a future shaped by artificial intelligence, climate instability, and digital dependence, these ancient ways of life might offer a blueprint, not for going backward, but for remembering what it means to be rooted. In their rituals, their languages, their sacred lands, we find echoes of what it means to live in sync with nature instead of above it. Their stories are not relics of the past. They are quiet revolutions, unfolding in the shadows of our global spotlight. And in listening to them, we may just remember what it means to be truly human.